All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Carlo Nozzetti, and I have Shard with me. Shard is the chief instigator of the Tour de Chateau. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to get to know him a little bit better, get some questions about what this is all about. So, Shard, firstly, introduce yourself. Who are you? And I'd love to hear a little bit about your love affair with cycling and when that started as well.
Hi, yeah. As Carlos said, it's Charles Mortazavi. I'm a fellow cyclist, um, and uh, I guess the instigators of Tours de Chateau. Where did my love affair with cycling start? I think I must have been 6 or 7, riding my bike up and down an alleyway. And then at university, it was my main mode of transport around London on a very heavy mountain bike. And then life kind of took over, had children, uh, career, etc., etc., etc. And about 6 years ago, I bought myself a road bike and fell in love with cycling and road cycling.
Now, you've come pretty far from riding up and down an alleyway or going to the pub during your uni days, because this whole Tour de Chateau thing is a little bit more serious, a little bit more exotic, and a little bit more fancy. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about the Chateau and Tour de Chateau and how that idea came across and started.
Sure, sure. Well, the chateau is a house that my brother and I inherited from my parents. So they immigrated to France back in 2005 and decided to renovate the chateau. So that's how the chateau came about. Um, and they lovingly restored the chateau from ruins to kind of what you can see behind me. Um, and unfortunately, they passed away both uh, uh, some time ago. So my dad about 6 or 7 years ago, and in their memory, and to kind of keep the house uh, kind of relevant, we decided to my brother and I to do this thing called the Tours de Chateau. Um, to kind of my dad was into sports. He used to run the Marathon des Sables. He was an ultra marathon runner and a marathon runner, and we thought this was a very nice way of kind of celebrating his endeavors, his life. He lost his life to cancer, so um, a good portion of the Tours de Chateau is about raising funds for cancer research.
Now, this isn't the first one that's happened. This is the second event this year. The first one maybe a bit of a dry run, but the fundraising was in effect last year. How did that go?
We did really well. We raised about 13 to 14 thousand dollars for cancer research. Given the fact that we were fundraising in earnest for 2 months, that was extraordinary. Everyone that came raised a significant amount of money. Um, and yeah, we just had a lot of fun. You were on the caller. We just enjoyed ourselves. It was a group of guys that knew each other, that had the imagination to kind of make it to the other side of the world. And uh, we had a surprisingly good time. It was a lot of fun. Uh, some guys enjoying each other's company, which is a kind of a secondary component of the Tours de Chateau, kind of men's mental health. And we just had a thoroughly good time. It didn't feel like we were raising money, but that's actually what we were doing.
Now, you chose Peter Mac as the benefactor of the fundraising. It's a wonderful charity. I'd love to hear just a little bit about why Peter Mac. Why were they one of the organizations you decided to partner with?
Good question. Well, I've got a background in genetics. That's what I did for my degree. I've got scientific training as a way of background. And I was fortunate enough about 9 years ago to do some work at Peter Mac, doing some transformation work, technical transformation work for them. And I was impressed that they had the staff, very qualified staff that kind of been trained in the leading organizations in the world, all around the world. They had the clinicians and this amazing facility for patients, and they all came together in one place. And as efficient as science is, there is sometimes a disconnect between the research and the patient. And I was really overjoyed to see those two elements in such close proximity because the learnings were then accelerated. So you've got a world-class facility in Melbourne. You have the patients, the clinicians, and the researchers in the same place, in close proximity. And as a result, they have got some amazing therapies. The other reason was, and a bit of a closer to my father, was you can't treat all cancer. Like unfortunately, people succumb to cancers. But the type of research that an institute like Peter Mac does, this is not that my dad is not the only kind of example of this, helps people live longer lives. So even people who are terminally ill get an extra year or so with their families, their loved ones. They get to have closure, both the families and the person going through that. And that's incredibly important. So sometimes you just can't treat the cancer, but you can prolong life, and that's equally as important.
No, it's absolutely brilliant to have such an amazing cause. And also, I think the bulk of the people that are attending and joining these events come from a technical background. So I think this probably speaks to them a little bit, whether in like IT or the sciences. So I can definitely see last year when everyone was rallying around this, people really got into it. They really got into the fundraising. They really got into what Peter Mac was doing. So definitely a good choice, and one that's both your heart and mine as well. So absolutely brilliant. Now, this year's installment is a little bit different. So last year there was the Chateau component, then there was a little bit in Italy, there was riding into other countries. This year's it's a little bit of the same, a little bit different. Do you want to take us through what the tour looks like this year?
Yeah, absolutely. So this year we borrowed from last year, so there was lots of good fun. But we also add some cycling highlights and then a twist at the end. So this year we start from the Chateau as per normal. We do some of the rides that we did last year. There was a memorable ride into Belgium where we all came back slightly tipsy, having drunk some strong beer in the town of Chimay, which was great fun. But we also, rather than going to Reims, which is what we did last year, go to the Roubaix and Flanders region and ride some cobblestone. So we get to do part of the Paris-Roubaix and part of the Tour de Flanders, which is a highlight for a lot of us cycling people, as well as staying in the Flanders region. So that's the French bit encompassed. And then the second week, we take a train ride down to the border of France and Spain. We go and climb the world famous tour called the Tourmalet. And I know the guys are already starting to train for that, and they're looking forward to it. Stay in the wonderful town of Saint Sebastian. But the second week, we also started kind of an almost spiritual journey, which is the Camino de Santiago, which is one of the three pilgrimages in the Christian calendar. And we get to ride this wonderful historic event through northern Spain. So we come through the Pyrenees from France to Spain and ride a big part of the Camino de Santiago. Very rustic. We go through some old villages. About 300,000 people do this a year on foot and by bike. And we get to ride a good portion of it and come out at the other end as pilgrims of the Camino de Santiago. So it's a bit of a twist. And it's a personal journey for everybody. So the Camino is a personal journey for every single rider. But the important thing is we've got the group together. Again, a lot of fun, a lot of history, sightseeing, and I'm sure there'll be a few evenings enjoying the local cervezas.
Well, you got to keep the hydration up and ensure you recuperate from some good rides. Listen, it sounds absolutely amazing. I can't wait. I had an absolute ball last year. As you said, you touched on mental health, the ability to disconnect from work, get away from the daily grind, get out there on a bike, get in the nature, but also just build some good relationships with some good people has been absolutely priceless for me. So thank you very much for putting this together, keeping us fit, giving us a good opportunity to talk with our mates and also go explore some places. And what a bonus to raise a lot of money for Peter Mac and the work they do. So thank you so much, Hard. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Carla. Looking forward to riding it with you.